Welcome to the shark cryptid Iceberg. Today we'll be discussing bizarre sightings, theories, and unexpected encounters as we make our way down the chart. Now before we begin, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Tier 1. Living Megalodon. For millions of years, from around 20 to 3.6 million years ago, the oceans were dominated by a shark species so large and powerful that it dwarfed all others. This was the Megalodon, scientifically named Otodus megalodon, meaning giant tooth. This name alone speaks volumes about this predator's scale. For example, its teeth were 3 times the size of those found in great white sharks, reaching lengths of up to 60 feet. The Megalodon was an apex predator, sitting unchallenged at the top of the food chain. But despite this dominance, the Megalodon eventually went extinct, leaving behind fossil evidence that still amazes and fascinates researchers. However, some speculate that these massive sharks may still swim in unexplored parts of our oceans. Viral videos from platforms like TikTok and YouTube have brought in many views with theories about how Megalodons could have avoided extinction. Could it be that these massive sharks are hiding in the ocean's uncharted depths? Researchers like Jack Cooper, a doctoral student at Swansea University in the UK, and part of the Pimento research group studying ancient marine diversity, this idea lacks any credible evidence. Now, Cooper has extensively studied the Megalodon and says there's no real chance of them being alive today. Any suggestion of their survival, especially in unexplored regions, he describes as nonsense, pointing to the lack of any real evidence. Cooper talks about practical reasons why the Megalodon would not likely be hidden somewhere in today's marine ecosystems. The Megalodon occupied the role of a dominant coastal predator, so its presence would have made significant impacts on the modern food chain. Not only was it the largest of its kind, but it also occupied a higher position on the food web than any other existing marine predator, indicating that it would have strongly influenced marine life. Cooper says that in its absence, the marine ecosystem shifted. Species like whales that were once prey grew larger after the Megalodon's extinction due to less threats. Some of the largest marine mammals alive today, including the blue whale, only evolved after the Megalodon disappeared, hinting at the massive ecological footprint it left behind. There's speculation that a creature of such size could thrive in remote areas, like the depths of the Mariana Trench. However, this fails when examining the harsh conditions in those environments. The Mariana Trench, which is 35,000 feet deep, is home mostly to microscopic organisms or species that have adapted to extreme pressures and limited resources. The Megalodon, on the other hand, required much larger prey to sustain its energy needs, prey that simply doesn't exist in such sparse habitats. He argues that the deep sea environment would be entirely unsuited to a predator of the Megalodon's size. Deep sea sharks that have been discovered, although sizable by regular standards, are nowhere even near as large as a Megalodon, and the food sources in these depths wouldn't satisfy even a single shark of that scale, let alone a whole population. Kenshu Shimada, a paleobiologist from DePaul University in Chicago, with a focus on ancient sharks, also says that claims of living Megalodons lack proof. When examining why Megalodons likely could not thrive in today's oceans, you need to consider the events leading to their extinction. Although researchers still debate the precise cause, some major theories involve climate change or competition from emerging species like the great white shark, which appeared several million years ago. Shimada mentions that these sharks may have gone extinct due to a combination of environmental shifts and interspecies competition. Now, Cooper points that sea levels dropped significantly during the Pliocene epoch, which was around 5.3 to 2.6 million years ago, a factor that impacted not only the Megalodon but also its prey. This reduction in sea levels diminished coastal habitats and limited the food sources essential for such a large predator to thrive. Black Demon Shark. The Sea of Cortez, which is also called the World's Aquarium by Jacques Cousteau, is home to a remarkable variety of marine life, including over 800 fish species, sea lions, seals, whales, and several types of sharks, from great whites to hammerheads. In 2008, reports surfaced of an exceptionally large shark prowling these waters, nicknamed the Black Demon. Witnesses claimed it measured between 40 to 60 feet, with a deep black color, large eyes, and a highly aggressive demeanor. This immense shark supposedly rammed fishing boats and was linked to unexplained marine mammal deaths, sparking rumors that it might be a surviving Megalodon. While these stories captured public imagination, the actual scientific evidence hasn't sustained them. Great whites typically grow no larger than 20 feet, and even though they are apex predators, none of them have approached the sizes that are attributed to the black demon. A 2009 Monster Quest episode investigated these sightings, finding only a whale shark that's 40 feet long, but a docile filter feeder, which shares some physical traits with the black demon, but it doesn't have an aggressive reputation. Searches in the Sea of Cortez yielded no concrete evidence of a 40-foot predator harassing boats or attacking marine mammals. The idea of a surviving megalodon is compelling, but is pretty unlikely. As coastal habitats shrank, these enormous predators lost access to the resources needed to sustain their size. Today's marine food webs vastly differ from those that used to support ancient apex predators, and they would struggle to accommodate such a massive animal without clear impacts on marine ecosystems. Although sightings of the black demon might seem extraordinary, the Sea of Cortez has already produced unusually large great white sharks. Back in 2012, one of the largest documented great whites was nearly 20 feet long and was captured near the Guamas, and a nursery for great whites was later identified along Baja's coast. Great whites are opportunistic hunters, capable of targeting marine mammals like seals and sometimes even approaching boats. With ample food in the Sea of Cortez, some may have reached their upper size limits, possibly leading to reports of a black demon. Comparing potential candidates reveals that great whites as the most plausible match for the black demon. Great whites are aggressive predators growing up to 20 feet and use rapid, forceful attacks to subdue their prey, behaviors that could fit black demon sightings. But in contrast, whale sharks, although reaching similar lengths, are filter-feeding gentle giants, primarily active at night and uninterested in marine mammals. Although collisions with whale sharks might occur, their behavior lacks the aggression that's given to the black demon. Challenger teeth. The Megalodon shark, which is known for its colossal size and dominance in prehistoric oceans, is believed to have gone extinct many years ago during the early Pliocene epoch. But despite the scientific consensus, some have suggested that the Megalodon may still exist due to discoveries of supposedly recent Megalodon teeth have been dated to sometime in the Pliocene or even Holocene epoch. These claims largely rest on dating methods that have been discredited, with most experts agreeing that these teeth belong to the Miocene-Pliocene period, aligning with established timelines for the Megalodon fossils. One of the most notable instances of this misdating comes from Vladimir Chernesky's work in 1959. He analyzed two Megalodon teeth recovered from the seafloor near Tahiti by the HMS Challenger expedition in 1875. He attempted to date these teeth by measuring the manganese dioxide coating on them, finding a thickness of 1.7 mm on the first tooth and 3.64 mm on the second. Using an assumed growth rate of 0.15 meters per 1,000 years, he estimated these teeth to be 11,000 and 24,000 years old, respectively. However, the dating technique he used was quickly deemed unreliable because the buildup of manganese dioxide on fossil teeth occurs inconsistently and does not begin immediately after the teeth settled on the ocean floor, which Chernesky's calculations failed to account for, making his results unreliable. In 1970, researchers Bailev and Glickman published a rebuttal to Chernesky's findings. They argued that the growth rate Chernesky used was based on outdated radium dating, which had a rate 20 to 30 times faster than that of the ionium-thorium dating method, which is a more accurate approach. They observed that the Megalodon teeth collected in similar contexts were often accompanied by other Miocene-Pliocene species, particularly the Carcharodon haustralis, which is an ancestor of the modern great white shark, and the Paratodus benedeni, which is a type of a false mako shark. The presence of these species, which are distinctly Mio-to-Pliocene, strongly suggests that the Megalodon remains from those sediments belong to the same period, invalidating Chernesky's younger dating estimates. Despite these clarifications, manganese dioxide dating of the Megalodon teeth continued into the 1980s, so in 1988, Roux and Gesterdorfer revisited the method, using it to estimate the Megalodon teeth found off the coast of Madagascar, which ranged in age from 15,000 to 60,000 years. Now, although this is intriguing, this analysis was also flawed, as the teeth were found with other species from the Mio-to-Pliocene era, like the Paratodus benedii, so this dating was inconsistent with more reliable geological evidence. Zuyu Maru globster. The Zuyu Maru carcass, thought at first to be the remains of a mysterious sea creature, was discovered in 1979 by a Japanese fishing trawler sailing off the east coast of New Zealand The trawler's crew was stunned when they hauled in an enormous decaying carcass that looked unlike anything they had seen before. The creature's bizarre and unsettling appearance led some to think it was a plesiosaur, a marine reptile from the prehistoric era, thought by some to be related to the Loch Ness Monster legends. This excitement around this discovery soon spiraled into speculation, as many believed the carcass belonged to a creature from ancient times. The encounter occurred on April 25, 1977, about 30 miles from Christchurch, New Zealand. As the trawler worked the waters, its nets snagged on something massive and decayed. When the mysterious carcass surfaced, the crew was so shocked by its size and shape that they believed it to be a creature that was yet to be discovered. Despite the chance to preserve the specimen, Captain Akira Tanaka made the decision to return it to the sea, fearing the decaying body would ruin their fish catch. However, before the carcass was released, the crew managed to document this creature. They photographed it, took measurements, and even collected tissue samples, including parts of the skeleton, skin, and fins, for further examination back in Japan. It was nicknamed Nessie by the crew, as the carcass triggered a plesiosaur craze in Japan, with the shipping company ordering boats to search for the carcass. Though the search was fruitless, interest remained high, and public fascination with plesiosaurs grew rapidly. While the public latched onto the idea of a surviving sea monster, scientists were still skeptical. Marine biologists got to work, analyzing the collected tissue samples, focusing on the muscle structure of the specimen. By comparing the amino acid composition in the tissue, eventually determined that the carcass likely belonged to a basking shark, a conclusion that deflated the plesiosaur theory. When basking sharks decay, they lose parts of their head, dorsal fin, and caudal fin in ways that can make them look strikingly similar to a plesiosaur, which explains why the crew misidentified it. The carcass was recorded as measuring around 13 meters in length and weighing roughly 1,800 kilograms. Crew members noted its long neck, about 1.5 meters in length, along with 4 large reddish fins and a tail measuring around 2 meters. The internal organs had decomposed, but some flesh and fat were still intact, giving the impression of a robust animal despite its decay. Now, the carcass's foul smell and decomposed state left little doubt that it was a remnant of something long dead. Tier 2. Lake Ontario Shark. Ontario residents were startled by a YouTube video claiming to show a bull shark in Lake Ontario. This apparent discovery sent a wave of fear through communities, leading to concerns over beach safety and public danger. However, it was later revealed as a hoax by the Discovery Channel to promote Shark Week. The video nonetheless sparked intense public and political reaction. Bull sharks, known for their tolerance of fresh water, have a track record of venturing far inland, with sightings as far up the Mississippi River as St. Louis. These aggressive predators are believed to be responsible for many of the 75 annual shark attacks on humans, giving them a reputation for violence and adaptability that magnified the alarm caused by the video. Bull shark adaptability to freshwater habitats left many feeling unsettled. Despite assurances that the video was a fabrication, even if the sighting was false, many wondered if a bull shark could eventually enter the lake through connected waterways, given that the bull shark is an apex predator evolved for power and predation. Some residents argued that the Ontario's leaders should treat the situation seriously, ensuring Lake Ontario and connected bodies of water are entirely shark-free for peace of mind. Lake Sentai Shark. During World War II, George Agogino, stationed with his army unit, took an unusual approach to catching fish for food by dropping a grenade into a lake. The explosive force unexpectedly brought a massive 12-foot shark to the surface. In the brief time it was visible, Agogino managed to quickly sketch the creature before it slipped back beneath the water surface. The sighting left an impression on Agogino, who claimed it was clearly a shark, though the environment, a lake far from the ocean, seemed an unlikely habitat for such a predator. Numerous theories attempt to explain this unusual encounter. One explanation suggests the creature could have been a sawfish, specifically the Pristis microdon, which generally resides in marine or riverine habitats but has occasionally been observed in freshwater environments. Sawfish can grow to impressive lengths, reaching up to 19 feet, much larger than the shark Agogino claimed to see. If the grenade had somehow damaged the fish's signature elongated snout, often referred to as a saw, it could have led Agogino to mistake it for a shark, especially given the chaotic, brief nature of the sighting. The blade-like snout, a defining characteristic of the sawfish, might have been unrecognizable if fragmented by the explosion, leaving only a large, streamlined body that could resemble a shark to a casual observer. Another explanation involves the bull shark, a species uniquely adapted to both salt and freshwater environments. These sharks have been observed swimming in freshwater rivers and even lakes, including Lake Timor in Irian Jaya, making the idea of a freshwater dwelling shark in this area plausible. Bull sharks can grow up to around 11 feet, making them a close match to Egogino's description. The bull shark's aggressive nature and preference for shallow coastal waters also make it one of the few shark species likely to survive in confined freshwater habitats. However, its presence in a remote lake accessible to Egogino's unit would still make it pretty unusual, adding to the mystery surrounding this wartime sighting. Timor sea shark. The Timor sea ground shark is rumored to be an enormous, mysterious shark that lurks along the ocean floor of the Timor Sea. Witnesses claim it's even larger than a great white, which typically maxes out at around 15 feet. This ground shark allegedly lies in ambush on the seabed, waiting for unsuspecting fish or creatures to swim close. Description of its appearance add to its mystery. This shark reportedly lacks the large prominent dorsal fin seen on most sharks, making it less recognizable. It's also rumored to have attacked humans, making it as potentially dangerous and adding to the speculation about its true identity and nature. There are a few theories trying to explain this strange shark. Carl Schucker, a researcher in cryptozoology, has suggested that it might be a giant type of wobbegong shark, which is a species known for lying camouflaged on the seafloor and being ready to ambush prey. One species in particular, the spotted wobbegong, lives in waters close to the Timor Sea. The spotted wobbegong can grow up to about 13.5 feet, almost as large as the reported size of the ground shark, and shares some similar traits. Known as carpet sharks, the wobbegongs have flattened bodies and mottled patterns, helping them blend into the ocean floor. They aren't usually aggressive, but have been known to attack waters or people fishing in shallow waters if they get too close to them. While this spotted species is the largest known, an undiscovered, even larger variation isn't entirely out of the question, considering how vast and unexplored the ocean remains. But another theory points to the possibility of the ground shark being a new species entirely. Much of the ocean remains uncharted, especially in deep sea areas like the Timor Sea. So if this ground shark does exist, it may be adapted for life on the seafloor, perhaps explaining why it doesn't need a prominent dorsal fin. The alleged accounts of its behavior suggest it might be a predator, possibly dangerous to humans, even though details are sparse and are speculative. Pseudo-plesiosaur. A pseudo-plesiosaur is a type of globster, an ambiguous mass that often washes ashore, stirring curiosity and speculation about its origin. These masses are usually the remains of a basking shark. When a basking shark decays in a specific way, it can take on a form that resembles a prehistoric marine reptile, known as a plesiosaur. This happens because the shark loses its large gill arches, and most of its fins, creating an outline to the untrained eye that looks similar to the long-necked, fin-shaped, which is often associated with plesiosaurs. Some of these decayed sharks have even been described as hairy, which is an illusion caused by the exposure and breakdown of muscle fibers over time. The earliest widely recognized pseudo-plesiosaur was the Stronsay beast, a large carcass that washed ashore in 1808 on the coast of Stronsay, a small Scottish island. The Stronsay beast caused a sensation due to its unusual appearance, which sparked debates and rumors that a mysterious, possibly ancient creature had surfaced from the depths. People have described it as having an elongated body, leading many to believe it might be a surviving plesiosaur. However, its decayed state and certain anatomical features suggest it was likely a basking shark that had been transformed by natural decomposition. Another notable example is the Zuyu Maru globster, a strange carcass discovered by Japanese fishermen in 1977 off the coast of New Zealand. This globster was initially thought to be the remains of an unknown sea creature because it displayed some features that looked like a plesiosaur, including a long neck and a body structure that seemed different from typical marine animals. Photos and descriptions circulated widely, capturing public attention and leading some to speculate it was evidence of a surviving prehistoric species. However, when further analysis was done, which included examining tissue samples, it was indicated that it too was likely the remains of a basking shark whose shape had shifted during decomposition. Zane and Loren Grey. The accounts of massive, unusual sharks encountered by Zane Grey and his son Loren Grey are among the more notable ones in history. Zane Grey, a well-known novelist and sport fisherman, wrote of his encounter in his 1931 book Tales of Tahitian Waters. In June 1928, near the Rangaro Atoll in the South Pacific, Grey and his party aboard several boats were in the midst of reeling in yellowfin tuna when a large shark surfaced near them. Unlike typical predatory sharks, it ignored the hooked tuna and moved slightly beneath the boats before diving out of sight moments later. Grey described the shark as yellowish-green with a few white spots, a square head, and large pectoral fins. Its body was oddly proportioned, with a wide interior narrowing significantly toward the back, which ended in a thinner tail section. He estimated the animal's width around 8 feet and its length somewhere between 35 to 40 feet. Loren Grey later recounted a separate encounter with a similar shark in the 1976 book Shark, the Killer of the Deep. This sighting occurred in 1933, about 100 miles northwest of Rangora. While Loren and Zane were aboard the steamer SS Maungauni, Loren described spotting a large shark surface near the ship, alerting Zane and others on board who reportedly also saw it. This shark had a yellowish-brown color and appeared to be covered in hundreds of white spots, which upon closer inspection turned out to be barnacles rather than natural markings. Its head was round and massive, about 10 to 12 feet wide, while the shark itself measured around somewhere between 40 and 50 feet in length. Neither Zane nor Loren attributed these sightings to the extinct Megalodon, contrary to later interpretations in cryptozoological literature. While the Greys did not identify the species, they were insistent that it was not a whale shark, despite some overlapping characteristics. Zane's description bears some similarities to a whale shark, particularly in the reported size and shape, as well as the broad head and prominent pectoral fins. The estimated length falls within the known range for whale sharks, and the square-headed anterior heavy form fits the general body plan of a whale shark. While Zane described a low number of white spots, visibility issues due to water conditions and lighting could have obscured more typical patterning. Interestingly, in an earlier encounter, Zane had noted that an observed whale shark initially appeared green to him before he recognized its true color. The shark's disinterest in the tuna aligns with the whale shark feeding habits, as whale sharks do not consume fish of that size. This passive behavior contrasts with known predatory sharks including Megalodon, which likely preyed on large fish and marine mammals. Now, Megalodon and related species have a distinctively tapered, pointed head and a solid dark coloration, which would not match the spotted, broad-headed description given by Zane and Loren. Unlike the gray shark, a true predator would likely have attacked the hooked tuna, taking advantage of an easy meal. Loren's description bears a few additional similarities to a whale shark, although some elements don't exactly align. The length, color, and rounded head fit, but Loren's observation of barnacles is unusual for any shark species, including whale sharks and Megalodon. Sharks have skin covered in dermal denticles, hardened scales that prevent barnacles from attaching to the surface. Whale sharks are no exception, as their ribbed, enameloid-coated denticles effectively repel barnacles. Now, whale species often host various barnacles, but Loren was adamant that the animal he saw was a shark, confirmed by the shape of its vertically oriented caudal fin, which would differ from the horizontally oriented tail fins of whales. Captain Hannah's fish. Captain Hannah's fish, an unusual creature reportedly sighted in the North Atlantic, particularly near the Gulf of Maine, has a body unlike any typical fish. Measuring about 25 feet long and with a maximum thickness of around 10 inches, this strange fish has a sinus eel-like shape, moving with a serpentine motion that makes it look more like a sea serpent than a fish. Its coloring was described as a dark slate gray along the top, fading to a grayish white on the underside, giving it a somewhat shadowy appearance in the water. This creature's head was notably flat, extending out over a small mouth filled with sharp teeth, which is an uncommon feature that added to its unsettling look. It also had distinctive gill slits, two small, rayed pectoral fins near the front, and a triangular dorsal fin positioned just behind its head. A caudal fin rounded the tail, further distinguishing it from most fish in the region. Captain S.W. Hannah first encountered this unusual creature in August 1880 off the coast of New Harbor, Maine, when it became tangled in his fishing net. However, it didn't become part of any official records because he chose to discard it, frustrated by the damage it had done to his net. Despite his decision, the brief encounter and his descriptions of the fish left a lasting impression, contributing to the intrigue around what Hannah might have caught. One hypothesis, suggested by Bernard Heuvelmans, is that this fish could have been an unknown species of elongated shark, possibly a larger version of the frilled shark. This species has a unique appearance, known for its long eel-like body and a mouth located at the tip of its snout, which is quite an unusual feature for the shark family. Typically, the frilled shark grows to about 6 feet in length and inhabits the deep waters of the eastern Atlantic, which is closer to the seafloor, even though a few sightings have occurred in the western Atlantic as well. While this species has a distinctive appearance, no frilled shark has been recorded with rayed fins, which makes the exact identification uncertain. But larger varieties of the frilled shark may exist, as evidenced by a case documented by David Steed in 1907. In that instance, the skull and vertebrae of a 12-foot fish, which was believed to be a frilled shark, washed ashore in Sydney, Australia, which is twice the length typical of frilled shark specimens, which suggests the possibilities of even larger undiscovered variants. And then there's another theory, which was proposed by marine researcher Ben Rossick, suggests that Captain Hannah's fish could belong to an unknown species of bony fish rather than a shark. This theory is based on a few specific anatomical details, such as the fish's lack of pelvic fins and the unique position of its dorsal fin. Bony fish, unlike sharks, may exhibit the rayed fin structure described by Hannah, which aligns more closely with his observations. Lusca. Lusca is a name given to a mysterious sea creature reportedly seen in the Caribbean, often described as a monstrous octopus that dwarfs the largest known octopus species, and even the giant squid. Some legends go further, describing it as a bizarre blend of shark and octopus, with the head and body of a shark yet adorned with tentacles, giving it an unusual and frightening appearance that has taken over the imagination of those who frequent the region's waters. Sightings of this creature are often tied to the blue holes around Andros Island in the Bahamas. These blue holes are underwater sinkholes that drop sharply to significant depths, creating a dark, eerie habitat that has fostered tales of strange and dangerous marine life. On January 18, 2011, a large mass resembling part of a gigantic octopus washed up on the Grand Bahama Island. Those who saw it believed they were looking at a portion of an enormous creature, with only fragments of its head and mouth parts visible. Based on what they observed, local fishermen estimated the original creature could have stretched to 20 or 30 feet when alive, although only portions of it were visible in the remains. Descriptions of the Lusca vary pretty widely. Some reports claim it can grow to a staggering length of over 75 feet, with some accounts pushing the figure as high as 200 feet. If this was true, this would make it far larger than any known octopus species, as no verified species of octopus reaches even half that size. But for such a massive creature to strike from the ocean surface, as some stories suggest, it would likely need one of its tentacles anchored to the seabed, which implies these encounters would have to occur in shallow waters, rather than in the depths where such creatures might more feasibly dwell. Eyewitnesses have noted that the Lusca reportedly changes color, an ability common in smaller octopuses that use the skill for camouflage and communication, which further supports the idea that it could be a massive, unidentified octopus. The habitats of the Lusca are said to be rugged, complex underwater landscapes such as the large undersea caves, the edge of the continental shelf, and rocky formations where giant crustaceans, their presumed prey, might live. Such terrain provides both cover and access to food, making it an ideal habitat for a creature that would need to stay hidden while ambushing prey. While many cryptozoologists link the Lusca to an enormous octopus, others have suggested that the creature might be something completely different, describing it variously as a multi-headed beast, a dragon-like animal, or even a malevolent sea spirit haunting the waters. Tier 3. Giant Cookie Cutter Shark. The giant cookie cutter shark is a cryptid species speculated to exist in the Arctic waters off Alaska and possibly near Greenland. Unlike typical cookie cutter sharks, which measure around 2 feet in length, this hypothetical giant variant is theorized based on unusual bite marks on a narwhal carcass near Alaska. These bite marks appear to be round, matching the characteristic bites made by cookie cutter sharks, but on a much larger scale. The narwhal was brought up alongside the vessel of a colleague shark researcher Eugene Clark, and while it was discovered at night, it wasn't closely examined until morning. It remains uncertain whether the narwhal had been killed by whatever caused the bites, or if it was nearly scavenged after death. Eugene Clark, who spent years studying shark species, suggested that these large, round bite marks could be evidence of an unknown larger species of cookie-cutter shark. Cookie-cutter sharks use their unique method of biting to extract small plugs of flesh from their prey, often leaving distinct circular scars. Known species of cookie-cutter sharks are fairly small, only reaching about 60 centimeters, but the size and shape of the bite marks on the narwhal hinted at a creature much larger than the typical size. However, not everyone in the scientific community agreed with this hypothesis. Marine biologist Richard Martin proposed that these marks might have been made by a Pacific sleeper shark, a species known to scavenge marine mammals. The Pacific sleeper shark, along with the related Greenland shark, has been observed scavenging the bodies of whales and seals in Arctic and subarctic waters. Martin stated that cases where similar circular injuries were discovered on narwhals off Greenland, which had been observed by photographer Fred Bruemmer. In those cases, the Greenland shark was implicated as the culprit, and Martin reasoned that the same could be true for the narwhal found near Alaska. Now, despite Martin's suggestion, a mystery remains about how sleeper sharks would be able to create such distinctive circular bite marks. While these sharks are capable scavengers and known to inhabit the icy waters of the north, their usual feeding behavior does not typically result in the perfectly round wounds of the cookie-cutter sharks. The exact mechanics that would allow sleeper sharks to produce this kind of bite pattern remain unexplained, adding to the mystery surrounding the origin of the bite marks on the narwhal carcass. Mongu misidentification. The creature reported in the Rio Paraguay drainage and the swamps of the Gran Chaco region in Paraguay has an unusual and distinctive description. Observers describe it as resembling a massive slug or snake, with a body width comparable to that of a horse. The head is said to be a dog-like in shape, but lacks teeth, giving it a soft-mouthed and maybe deceptive appearance. Its tail is short and stumpy, concealing a dangerous feature, a barbed spike rumored to carry poison. This spike is thought to be its primary defense, a feature that would make any close encounter even more risky. The creature's behavior adds to its unsettling reputation, as stories claim it has pulled both dogs and people underwater. This behavior, along with its appearance, suggests it could be a powerful, stealthy predator or a formidable presence in the murky waters it inhabits. With accounts describing it as attacking animals and even humans, it has earned a place in local folklore, seen as a threat to those who venture too close to the water's edge. Many theories try to explain what this creature might be, but none of the explanations have fully clarified its nature. One possibility, suggested by the explorer Percy Fawcett, is that it could be a type of toothless freshwater shark. The only known shark capable of remaining in freshwater for extended periods of time is the bull shark, known for its aggressive nature and adaptability to rivers, including the Amazon. However, bull sharks are equipped with triangular serrated teeth, unlike the descriptions of this creature, which seem to lack any teeth in general. Another possible explanation is that it could be a giant catfish. Some catfish are known to grow to enormous sizes, sometimes reaching 18 feet in length and weighing up to half a ton. Older catfish specimens can occasionally become toothless, which might fit with the toothless appearance of this mysterious animal. Large catfish are capable of living in freshwater and are strong swimmers, making them plausible candidates for some of the behaviors attributed to this creature. Catfish are known to inhabit murky, slow-moving waters, which aligns with the swampy, riverine habitats where sightings of this creature have been reported. A third hypothesis offered by Mike Grayson is that the creature could be a large sturgeon. Sturgeon are known for their elongated bodies, bony plates, and some can reach impressive sizes in northern waters. However, no sturgeon species is native to the southern hemisphere, and no sturgeon would fit this creature's distinct features, particularly its stumpy tail with a hidden barbed spike. Sturgeons also possess a rough, armored skin texture and don't typically have the soft, slug-like body as described by these witnesses. Bren Island shark. In 1918, lobster fishermen out of Port Stephens, Australia, reported a remarkable encounter with what they believed to be a massive shark, possibly the largest ever recorded. The creature was described as a ghostly white color and measured anywhere between 115 and 300 feet, a sight that left the experienced fishermen shaken. The account was documented by David Steed, an Australian naturalist, who recounted the intense reactions of the fishermen. For days, the men refused to venture back to their usual fishing grounds near Bren Island. They described the creature as an immense shark with a frightening ability to destroy and swallow their crayfish pots, along with the mooring lines. As it swam through their territory, these spots, which were over 3 feet in diameter, held dozens of crayfish, each weighing several pounds. The fishermen, familiar with the typical marine life of the area, were unanimous in describing the shark as a size they could scarcely have imagined before seeing it. Some claimed it was as long as the wharf at Nelson Bay, nearly 115 feet, while others insisted it stretched closer to 300 feet, with the water boiling as it moved through the ocean. They described the creature's head as being as wide as the roof of the wharf shed, evoking an image of an enormous, unearthly predator. Steed and the local fisheries inspector Mr. Payton listened to these accounts and were struck by how certain the men were, despite the seemingly exaggerated size. The fishermen described its color as ghostly white, something they found particularly unsettling, and insisted they had never seen anything similar in their years of experience at sea. This sighting has since been considered one of the most striking anecdotal pieces suggesting that an ancient shark species, such as a Megalodon, might still exist. However, other explanations have been proposed over the years. Some believe the fishermen might have actually encountered a giant whale shark, a species known to grow to significant sizes, though not quite the scale reported by the Port Stevens men. Whale sharks can reach lengths of around 60 feet, and there are unconfirmed accounts suggesting they might grow even larger. A former shark captain, Bill Lewis, once claimed to have seen a larger shark measuring 90 feet in length, following his boat in Montauk, New York, so close that he feared it might damage the vessel. According to him, the shark's head was as wide as the boat's stern, about 17 feet across. Now, given this potential size, it's possible the Port Stevens creature was an extraordinarily large whale shark, its size magnified in the minds of terrified fishermen. The creature's behavior also raised some questions. The Port Stevens shark was said to have destroyed the fishermen, swallowing them along with the crustaceans inside. This behavior seems unusual for a typical shark, as carnivorous sharks are unlikely to consume metal pots, even if they're filled with crustaceans. However, whale sharks are filter feeders that consume tiny crustaceans like krill, which could explain an attraction to lobster pots filled with crayfish. A hungry whale shark might have ingested the pots, later spitting out the debris, consuming the crustaceans, an act that would leave the fishermen's equipment destroyed, and likely abandoned on the seafloor. To those observing from above, this could appear as if the shark was devouring the pots themselves, adding to the sense of horror. Now, to add to the confusion, is the reported color of the shark. The fishermen consistently described it as a ghostly white, which is uncommon, not unheard of, for whale sharks. Albino or pale white whale sharks, even though are rare, have been documented. Pale-colored, unusually large whale shark feeding in a chaotic manner could easily have been mistaken for something far more dangerous by fishermen which are unfamiliar with such a creature. J.S. Elkington shark. David Steed recounted a remarkable sighting in his works Sharks and Rays of Australian Seas, based on a 1939 letter from Captain J.S. Elkington. According to Elkington, the incident occurred in 1894 off the coast of Townsville, Queensland, Australia. While stranded in a small 35-foot launch that had broken down, Elkington reported that a massive shark appeared and lingered just 10 feet from his boat for about half an hour. The creature was so large that it extended several feet beyond each end of the launch, which led Elkington to estimate its length at least equal to or greater than the boat's length. He described the shark as a pale yellowish white, and he was convinced it was a great white, dismissing the possibility of it being a basking shark. The tale's credibility has been questioned, as a similar story appeared in marine biologist Theo W. Brown's 1973 book, Sharks: The Silent Savages. Brown's account changed key details, attributing the sighting to an anonymous captain, altering the year to 1963 and increasing the size of the launch to 85 feet. However, the location remained near Townsville, specifying the Great Barrier Reef, and the shark was still described as being as long or longer than the boat, with a similar white or pale coloration. Now, due to these suspicious similarities, Brown's account is widely considered to be lifted from Elkington's original report, with embellishments meant to add drama. So contrary to Elkington's conviction, many researchers have suggested that the size, behavior, and coloration described might be more consistent with a basking shark or a whale shark rather than a great white. Basking sharks, though similar in general body shape to great whites, are much larger and sometimes exhibit lighter coloration, which could resemble albinism or leucism in certain conditions. Their peaceful nature, especially compared to the often aggressive reputation of the great white, could align with the calm basking shark in the area, though they are primarily filter feeders rather than apex predators. Historical context may have influenced Elkington's perception. A supposedly enormous great white, estimated at 36.5 feet, was reportedly captured off Port Fairy, Victoria, in Australia in 1870, though later analysis revised the size down to about 17.7 feet. Such reports may have made Elkington and others more inclined to believe in extraordinarily large sharks. A curious aspect of Elkington's account is the shark's apparent ability to remain stationary for an extended period near the stalled boat. Large pelagic sharks are ram ventilators, which means they need to keep swimming to force water over their gills for breathing. Remaining still, especially for a prolonged period, is uncharacteristic of these species, as it would limit their oxygen intake. Marine mammals like whales can rest motionless while breathing air and can even float after death, but their anatomy is quite different from sharks, making them hard to mistake for one. Dave Brinks shark. In the 1970s, sailor Dave Brinks and his wife had an unnerving encounter with what they believed to be an enormous great white shark while they were sailing their 40-foot boat roughly 100 miles west of Monterey Bay, California. As they moved along, the shark approached their vessel, swimming close enough for them to get a clear view. To their astonishment, the shark appeared to match the length of their boat, making it a truly massive sight in the water beside them. The sheer size and proximity of the creature were unsettling, as most great whites encountered off the coast, while large, rarely reach such lengths. This encounter escalated when the shark suddenly shifted course, turning away from the side of the boat and diving underneath. As it passed directly below, the force of its body moving so close to the hull caused the boat to jolt upwards. Brinks and his wife felt the entire vessel lift briefly before the shark continued on its path, disappearing into the depths as quickly as it appeared. Tier 4. Lake Michigan Shark. In 1955, a young boy named George Lawson had a terrifying experience while swimming in Lake Michigan, near Chicago, when he was reportedly attacked by a shark, an event that would be strange enough in any freshwater lake, but especially so in the Great Lakes. Lawson was pulled from the water by a man named John Adler, who upon rescuing him discovered that most of the boy's right leg was missing, seemingly taken by the creature. Shocked by the injury, Adler later commented on how difficult it was to comprehend what he had seen, but the evidence before him was undeniable. This story raises many questions, particularly about whether a shark could truly reach the Great Lakes and survive. Bull sharks, known for their unique ability to adapt to fresh water, are the only species that might plausibly navigate from the ocean, up through rivers and eventually reach lakes. However, even for bull sharks, the journey to the Great Lakes would be challenging, as it would require swimming hundreds of miles through connecting waterways that include locks, dams, and other obstacles, not to mention the colder temperature of the northern freshwater lakes. Yet, sightings of bull sharks have been reported in rivers far from the ocean, and they have been documented swimming up the Mississippi River on rare occasions, suggesting the possibility, all but remote, that one could eventually reach the Great Lakes. Lake Superior Shark. In a tongue-in-cheek confession, the creator of the viral Lake Superior bull shark encounter video explained how he had sparked an online uproar with a toy shark fin. His lighthearted escapade started in early August when he posted a picture on social media wearing the fin, captioning it, "It's unclear where these rumors of sharks in Lake Superior originate, but I'll be swimming up and down the beaches until I get to the bottom of it." Intended as an open joke, the post poked fun at the long-running local myth of sharks in Lake Superior, a reoccurring theme on bumper stickers and common joke in duelist mayoral lore. The prank evolved as he posted photos from his investigation showing off his shark fin against the rocky beaches and open waters of Lake Superior. Despite some unintentional glimpses of his webbed swim gloves, and camera stick in the shots, he felt the idea had potential. He began referring it to as a bull shark, a name choice that conveniently shortened to BS, a humor nod shortened to BS, which is a humorous nod to the improbable nature of the claim. Between August 9 and 11, one of his friends shot 2 brief videos of him wearing the fin in the lake. One clip taken from a distance obscured his fin enough to maintain the mystery. The second was closer, showing a shark fin lunge with the beachgoer seemingly in its path, creating a perfect setup for a cheap jump scare. He edited the clips, removed the audio that included his friend's laughter and some comments about his swim technique, and edited out his blue flippers, though traces of them remained in some frames. Finally, on August 12, he uploaded the edited video to YouTube with the title Lake Superior Bull Shark Encounter 8/8/20 and shared it across his social media channels. The response was rapid and wild. Initially, it gained modest views, but within hours, it was shared thousands of times, landing on Reddit, where users debated its authenticity and speculated it was a Shark Week hoax. News aggregator sites picked up the post, and soon even a Chicago Fox News affiliate was featuring it, making it appear as if a mainstream outlet was reporting on a real shark problem in Duluth. As the video's views climbed, the prankster watched and was amused, but also aware of the potential for misinformation. So to address this, he doubled down on the joke, releasing a follow-up article titled "Lake Superior Bull Shark Eradicated by Duluth Anonymous Navy." This news piece claimed the mayor of Duluth had commissioned a local autonomous navy to handle the shark situation, with the fictional navy reportedly killing the bull shark in a cartoonish encounter. Once again, local news sites picked up the satire story, adding another layer to the web of humor surrounding the original video. So back on Reddit, the prank continued to spark debate, and then one commenter, determined to unmask the truth behind this video, took it upon himself to confront him, messaging him about the shark conspiracy and suggesting that a hoax of this magnitude could impact his local reputation. He replied in character, and he revealed that the joke's nature and inviting them to check out his essay, where he planned to discuss the video's impact as a humorous case study in misinformation. Abyssal Zone Sharks. In 1954, deep-sea explorers George Hewitt and Pierre Henry Willem set a new record for the deepest manned dive at 4,050 meters in the Atlantic Ocean, about 258 kilometers southwest of Dakar, Senegal. During this descent in the Basque FNRS-3, they unexpectedly spotted a shark at a depth where no sharks had previously been recorded. Hewitt described the shark around 2 meters in length, with large, protruding eyes that seemed designed for the darkness of the abyssal zone. This unexpected encounter spurred Hewitt to remark on how unusual it was to see a shark at such a depth, like parachuting into the Sahara and finding a lion waiting. Despite the constant darkness, the shark swam confidently toward the battleship's light, briefly investigating the porthole behind gliding away. Later clarified that the creature was a type of deep-sea dogfish, likely a member of the deep-sea dogfish, but also commonly known as gulfer sharks. In an article, he mentioned having encountered similar dogfish in Toulon Canyon off the coast of France in the Mediterranean Sea at 2,200 meters, even including a photograph of one taken at the depth. These observations suggested that a few species of central forests, such as C. granulosus, might inhabit abyssal depths, as it can reach lengths of 1.8 meters. The dimensions he observed were slightly larger, likely an overestimation due to the deep-sea conditions and limitations of visibility. While abyssal sightings of sharks remain uncommon due to physiological constraints, Hewitt's documentation has fueled further curiosity. In 1974, scientists Colby and Siapno reported an encounter with a dark-colored sleeper shark at 4,000 meters in the North Pacific Ocean using a remote television camera. This sighting, however, lacked a lot of verification, with no recorded footage or precise location details, making it less reliable than Hewitt's account. The next confirmed record of a sleeper shark in the deep is from 2,200 meters for the Pacific sleeper and 2,900 meters for the Greenland shark. The adaptation to such extreme depths presents substantial changes, making Hewitt's sighting all the more noteworthy. Other deep-sea sharks, such as the cookie-cutter shark, have been found around 3,700 meters in the Gulf of Mexico, showing that while sightings are rare, some species have managed to reach remarkable depths. As for the dogfish Hewitt and Willem encountered, it seems to have been a species suited to the unique conditions of the abyss, lurking at the edges of human exploration into the ocean's most extreme environments. Thomas Helm Shark. Thomas Helm was an American author and maritime enthusiast who wrote extensively about the sea and its mysteries. One of his notable works is Shark, Unpredictable Killer of the Sea, published in 1963. In this book, Helm explores various aspects of sharks, including their biology, behavior, and interactions with humans. He also delves into accounts of unusually large sharks. One intriguing account Helm discusses is the 1918 Bren Island incident in Australia. Local fishermen reported a massive great white shark that was so large it allegedly stole their heavy crayfish pots. The fishermen, experienced and familiar with marine life, estimated the shark's length to be between 115 and 300 feet, though such measurements are likely exaggerated due to the shock and fear experienced during their encounter. Helm's writings also touch upon the elusive nature of certain shark species, such as the megamouth shark, which was only discovered in 1976, years after his book was published. This deep-sea dweller was unknown to science until a chance encounter, emphasizing how little was known about some shark species during Helm's time. Tier 5. Giant Goblin Shark. The Goblin shark was long believed to reach a maximum length of around 3.8 meters, with this size holding steady as the upper limit for many years. This assumption was overturned in the 2000s when two goblin sharks caught in the Gulf of Mexico revealed a whole new perspective on the species' potential size. These findings not only redefined the goblin shark as larger than previously thought, but also established it as the third longest species of the lamniform order, just behind the great white and basking shark, but slightly ahead of the small-toothed sand tiger. The first of these exceptional goblin sharks was captured in 2000 in the northern Gulf, hauled from a depth ranging between 919 and 1099 meters. This individual was a female. While it wasn't measured directly, estimates based on the fishing rope in the photographs indicated it was somewhere between 5 and 6 meters in length, a staggering size for a creature once considered mid-sized. The second encounter was another large female caught in 2014 in the southeastern Gulf at a depth of 490 meters. Like the first, it wasn't measured directly, so researchers estimated its length based on calculations of the pelvic fin length visible in the photos, concluding it was between 4.8 meters and 6.3 meters. Given that these are the only two known goblin sharks of such magnitude from the Gulf of Mexico, there is speculation that goblin sharks in this area may grow to extraordinary lengths. Some researchers even wonder if they could represent a unique species or subspecies, though conclusive DNA analysis is still needed. Another plausible explanation, however, is sexual dimorphism, a pattern seen in other lamniform sharks, where females tend to grow larger than males. Fossil evidence also hints at potentially larger goblin sharks in prehistoric times. An impressive example is a tooth that was found from a goblin shark ancestor from the late Cretaceous found in New Mexico's Canyon Crevasse Formation. The tooth, with an estimated crown height of 5 centimeters, suggests a length of about 7.5 meters for the shark, based on scaling and regression equations that align with it. This estimate would place it in a size range rivaling the largest great whites recorded. Giant Pacific Sleeper Shark. The Pacific sleeper shark is a deep-dwelling member of the sleeper shark family. They are found worldwide in temperate waters along continental shelves and slopes from the surface down to 2,000 meters. These sharks are primarily located between 70 degrees north and 47 degrees south latitudes, indicating a broad geographic range from the cold waters of the northern Pacific to more temperate regions. The typical length of a Pacific sleeper shark reaches about 4.4 meters, though some records and estimates suggest they might grow as long as 7 meters, making them one of the larger sharks in these hidden depths. A unique feature of Pacific sleeper sharks is their ability to move silently through the water with minimal body movement. This stealthy, gliding behavior reduces hydrodynamic noise, allowing them to approach prey without alerting it to their presence. Their predatory strategy relies on powerful suction to pull in their prey, combined with their sharp teeth that effectively cut prey into manageable pieces if they're too large to swallow whole. These adaptations help the Pacific sleeper shark thrive as a predator in its shadowy environment. Lake Tanganyika Shark. Reports of mysterious lake creatures in Lake Tanganyika, a vast African lake spanning Burundi, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Tanzania, and Zambia, has circulated for over a century, each recounting strange and often unexplained sightings of various beasts and creatures. The earliest known account dates back to 1893, when Joseph Augustus Molony, part of the Stairs expedition, recounted a story from a missionary at Malpelo who claimed to have encountered a sea serpent which was approximately 30 feet long, once seen in the lake and another time dozing on shore. Another report followed in 1907 from Lord Walter Rothschild, who relayed an account of a tusked, amphibious creature reportedly spotted by a South African police officer in the lake's southern region. In June 1928, German sources noted sightings of a saurian that ships often mistook for an island until it submerged, and unusual tracks were discovered along the lakeshore, showing massive claw prints resembling those of a gigantic bird and a thick dragging tail. George Gray, reputed for his investigation into strange creatures, including the Kongomodo, was also reportedly involved in investigating this beast. According to journalist Lawrence Green, rumors of monsters in the lake were so widespread that during the colonial period, the German government in Tanganyika offered a reward for the capture of a freshwater shark, supposedly seen in the lake. Green additionally recorded a local legend about a great fish that once swallowed a canoe with 20 people on board. Another tale tells of the Mamba Muti, a mer-being reported to inhabit the lake's depths. In early 1914, a sighting from Lake Tanganyika's Burundi region added another layer to the mystery. German doctor M.V. Thierfelder, stationed there during a sleeping sickness outbreak, was out hunting near the lake with a local teacher named Iskesmir and a young African assistant when he noticed something unusual in the bay. Thierfelder described seeing a creature like an immense serpent. Though unlike a typical snake movements, its body arched in 6 vertical loops above the water. As he laid still, he observed the creature, comparing its loops to nearby otters to estimate its length, which he believed ranged from 111 to 168 feet, with each loop about 13 feet long and 9 feet in diameter. The creature's head, when visible, seemed to merge seamlessly with its body, lacking the usual neck structure seen in snakes. He noted that the beast's color was a bright brown with a thick furry covering, rather than scales and 2 fin-like structures near its head. While its mouth appeared elongated, the head itself was more mammalian, somewhat like that of a manatee. After spending time in the bay, the creature eventually turned and glided out, its massive body undulating majestically. The teacher's observations mirrored Thierfelder's, and their assistants, though unfamiliar with the region, noted that locals claimed the creature appeared only every few years. Years later, Bernard Heuvelmans considered the Thierfelder sighting particularly intriguing due to the credibility of the eyewitnesses, though he doubted the accuracy of Thierfelder's size estimates, suggesting the creature might have been closer to 49 feet in length rather than over 100. He noted that its behavior and body structure, especially the vertical undulations, were similar to that of the Laquada, a serpentine creature seen by T.E. Cox and his wife in nearby Lake Victoria in 1959. Rachel Cohen Incident. In his 1969 book, Des Poissons si Grands, pilot and sports fisherman Pierre Klosterman recounted an extraordinary incident involving an enormous great white shark. According to Klosterman, in March 1954, the ship Rachel Cohen was struck by something massive while navigating through rough waters off the coast of Timor. The collision was forceful enough to jolt the vessel, but the true impact only became apparent once the ship returned to Adelaide, South Australia, for repairs. Lodged deep in the wooden keel of the ship were 17 large teeth, each bearing an average crown height of around 10 centimeters and a base width of 8 centimeters. The teeth were arranged in a semicircle with a radius of approximately 1 meter near the bent propeller shaft, suggesting an immense creature had been responsible for the damage. Klosterman claimed that unnamed ichthyologists had estimated the shark's length at 24 meters, based on the bite pattern alone. This narrative, however, has since been revealed to be a mix of reality, confusion, and even embellishment. A vessel named Rachel Cohen did exist, but it met its end in a fire in 1924, long before the supposed shark encounter. Instead, historical accounts point to a similar event involving the ship Eclipse. In 1897, while docked for repairs in Birkenhead, a suburb of Adelaide, shark teeth were reportedly extracted from the copper plating of Eclipse's hull. Unfortunately, details about the number of teeth, their dimensions, or even the species they belonged to were never documented. This incident was briefly revived in 1926, though with the significant altercations, the article left out the date, replacing Eclipse with the more recent Rachel Cohen, possibly due to the latter's notoriety after its fire 2 years prior. This altered account later appeared in Victor Coppelson's 1958 book, Shark Attack, likely providing the foundation for Klosterman's account. Certain aspects of Klosterman's story may have come from yet another incident involving a shark. In 1950, a fishing boat in Streaky Bay, South Australia, was reportedly attacked by a 17-foot great white shark, whose head extended over 3 feet out of the water when it moved alongside the boat. This shark was later captured and 3 of its teeth were removed from the vessel's planking. Klosterman may have combined and misinterpreted details from these various events. The shark's 17-foot length became 17 teeth lodged in the ship, the 3 feet of protruding head turned into the 3-foot bite radius, and the 3 teeth removed from the planking were reimagined as the 3-inch wide teeth. Malpelo monster. The Malpelo monster, also known locally as the Bongo or El Monstro, is a strange, shark-like creature sighted in the eastern Pacific near Isla de Malpelo, a remote island 285 miles off Colombia's coast. Known to prefer the colder waters below the thermocline, typically diving beneath 160 feet, this mysterious shark is around 15 feet long and notable for its large eyes and dorsal fin positioned above its pectoral fins, which is an unusual characteristic. Sightings of this shark are rare, yet it has been both seen and photographed by a small number of divers over the years, capturing the attention of scientists and marine enthusiasts. In March 2001, Colombian marine biologist and director of the Malpelo National Park, Sandra Basudo, was spurred by one such sighting to undertake an investigation to uncover the creature's true nature and status. During an ordinary dive at Malpelo National Park, Basudo had an unexpected encounter with this mysterious shark, which she later stated the monster. Struck by its unique appearance, Basudo became determined to understand more about the shark that had eluded scientific identification. Her curiosity led her to arrange an expedition in early 2002, risking the challenges of deep water exploration in an effort to find this unusual creature. As the expedition progressed, however, the team faced a series of unexpected setbacks, including a powerful storm that barred access to the areas where the shark was thought to roam. And then, to add to the difficulty, a group of pirates attempted to hijack Basudo's vessel, stabbing the nets and seizing over 14 tons of other sharks, an incident that not only interrupted the mission, but also emphasized the additional dangers lurking in the waters around Malpelo. Tier 6. Yellow Belly. The yellow belly is a type of sea serpent first identified by Bernard Heuvelmans, resembling a massive yellow-colored tadpole. Accounts describe it as stretching between 60 to 100 feet, its body bearing a striking resemblance to the plump shape of an oversized larval amphibian. Sightings of this creature, though scarce, have surfaced from the tropical waters of the Indian and Pacific Oceans, where witnesses report an odd, ambiguous form drifting or moving in the warm waters. The primary account lending substance to this cryptid's lore is the sighting by crew members on the Nestor in 1876. Based on the sighting, Heuvelmans considered it a unique type of sea serpent, yet he remained uncertain of its taxonomic placement and ultimately refrained from assigning it a scientific name. Later, Heuvelmans would even set aside the yellow belly as an official category, citing a lack of sufficient evidence to support it as a distinctive creature. Now, others have approached this strange phenomenon differently. For example, Roy P. Mackle suggested that many yellow belly sightings could be attributed to chains of salps, gelatinous, plankton-like organisms known to form lengthy, undulating chains that sometimes take on unusual shapes, especially under certain lighting conditions. Meanwhile, the Marshall classification system has folded the yellow belly accounts into the broader mega eel type, treating it as a possible misinterpretation of large eels or eel-like fish. Unknown postcard fish. The British diver B. Smith had a remarkable, once-in-a-lifetime encounter with a rare megamouth shark while diving off the coast of Taiwan. This ancient, 5-meter-long species, rarely seen alive, appeared suddenly from the depths, offering an unprecedented opportunity to document its elusive behavior on film. Known to inhabit deep waters, the megamouth only surfaces at night to feed on plankton, making it live sightings especially scarce. Smith, a team member with Shark Education, was in Taiwan to create a documentary focused on megamouth sharks, project close to her heart as a lifelong shark enthusiast. As she shared in a statement, being in the water with a living megamouth felt surreal. She noted how, despite being concentrated on capturing footage, the full impact of the experience didn't hit until she returned to the boat, where she felt overwhelming excitement for both personal and professional reasons. This footage would allow her to not only share her experiences, but also contribute new insights about the megamouth's behavior. Megamouth sharks are a recently recognized species in the scientific world, with the first one documented in 1976 off Hawaii. Since then, sightings have been infrequent, totaling just 279 recorded encounters. More often, these sharks are found as carcasses, washed ashore, or entangled in fishing nets. In Taiwan, where many sightings are reported, regulations mandate that any caught megamouths must be released, live or dead. back into the ocean. Smith's project delves into the effects of this catch and release policy, documenting the drift net fishing processes and assisting in the release and tagging of any captured megamounts for scientific tracking. Smith's team worked closely with local fishers, capturing footage as they helped cut captured megamounts free from nets, then tagging them with acoustic devices to track their movements. This collaborative effort aims to expand knowledge on their habitats and challenges in a marine world where they remain largely unknown. Adding to this limited collection of megamouth documentation is a unique 2023 video showing two megamouths side by side, a world-first capture. Scientists speculate that the pair may have been foraging, although the possible reproductive behavior has not been ruled out yet. South American angel shark. The angel shark, first classified by scientists Carlos Maria Vorin and Kleber Grubel da Silva in 1991, is a unique species of angel shark inhabiting the coastal Atlantic waters of South America, spanning from southern Brazil down to Argentina. This species generally reaches around 120 centimeters in length, making it a medium-sized shark relative to other angel sharks. One notable feature setting the angel shark apart from other types is its distinctive cranial structure. Unlike its relatives, the shark's neurocranial region, particularly its rostrum, is significantly shorter. The head's width is greatest around the nasal capsules and the post-orbital processes, giving it a body structure that shares a visual resemblance with rays, though with a key difference. The gills are positioned along the head's edges rather than beneath, a trait that's more typical with sharks. 27-meter Australian shark. In 1980, a series of reports emerged from the coasts of Queensland and New South Wales in Australia, describing sightings of an enormous shark that left observers astonished and somewhat unsettled. According to various accounts, the shark measured an astonishing 27 meters in length, far surpassing any known sizes for any living shark species. That kind of size pushes the boundaries of plausibility within marine biology. Now for comparison, even the largest great white sharks and whale sharks are typically documented around 6 to 12 meters, and historical records of the now extinct Megalodon estimated that it reached lengths of 18 to 20 meters at most. Yet, the Australian sightings place this mystery shark well beyond those established sizes, implying either an unknown species, an incredibly rare anomaly, or a vast misjudgment in size perception due to distance and water conditions. Tier 1. Cyclops shark. In 2011, a fisherman named Enrique Lucero Leon came across an unusual discovery while fishing near Bren Island in the Gulf of California. Upon cutting open a pregnant, dusky shark, he found an embryo that looked pretty different from its 9 normal siblings. Unlike a typical shark, this particular fetus had only one eye, which was located at the center of its head. This immediately led to some speculation, with some considering it to be a cryptid or just a fabricated hoax. However, after Leon turned over the specimen to researchers, scientists from National Geographic and other marine institutions determined that the shark was not an undiscovered species, but instead an individual affected by a rare congenital disorder known as cyclopia. Cyclopia is a development condition that affects multiple species, including humans. It results in the failure of the brain to properly divide into 2 hemispheres, leading to the formation of a single central eye. Most organisms with the disorder fail to survive birth usually. Those that do survive are typically stillborn or die shortly after due to severe complications associated with the condition, particularly being underdeveloped respiratory and neurological systems. The dusky shark embryo was measured around 22 inches long and displayed all the traits that are associated with this condition. It was examined by marine biologists Felipe Galvan Magana and Marcela Bajarno Olivares, who became involved after learning about the find through Facebook. With Leon's permission, they conducted further studies on the specimen, including X-ray imaging and comparisons with previous cases of cyclopia in other species. Their findings confirmed that the shark's abnormality was consistent with the congenital defect. Cyclopia has been observed in a variety of animals, but documented cases in sharks are pretty rare. According to shark biologist Jim Galshetter from the University of North Florida, previous instances of cyclopic sharks have only been recorded at the embryonic stage. There have been no confirmed reports of any living cyclopic sharks being caught outside of the womb, adds to the likelihood that they either failed to develop fully or do not survive in the wild. Canadian and Cuban albino shark. The waters off Australia are commonly recognized as a major habitat for great white sharks, which is followed closely by locations such as the coastal region near Bren Island in South Africa and the northern stretches of the Pacific along California's coast. Other regions, including the northeastern seaboard of the United States, the waters near Japan, New Zealand, and Chile, are also known to host great white sharks. However, one region that is barely associated with this species is the Gulf of Mexico. Despite this, there is evidence that great whites are present in the Gulf even in areas as far south as Corpus Christi and Padre Island off the Texas coast. Their presence has been noted frequently enough for the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department to acknowledge their occurrence in the region. While it may seem unexpected that great whites traverse these warmer waters, an even more strange fact is that one of the largest great white sharks ever reported was caught in the Gulf of Mexico. In July of 1945, 6 Cuban fishermen departed from the coastal town of Cozumel, which later became famous as the settling for Ernest Hemingway's novel The Old Man and the Sea. Their boat was a small wooden skiff, only about 14 feet in length, and their usual targets were tuna, dorado, marlin, and sometimes sharks. On this morning, they sailed 3 miles offshore and dropped their baited lines, expecting to reel in a large marlin. They waited for a few hours with no success, noting that other fishing boats in the area were also struggling. While slow fishing days were not unusual, the complete absence of activity suggested that something was keeping smaller fish away. Their suspicion was confirmed when, around 9 a.m., a massive dorsal fin emerged from the surface near their boat. As professional fishermen who had spent years on the water, they were well acquainted with sharks, but none had encountered anything of this magnitude before. Recognizing the potential value of such a massive specimen, they quickly devised a strategy to catch it. Lacking the proper fishing gear to handle such a large animal, they braided several fishing lines together and attached the makeshift cord to a wire leader and shark hook. The bait used was half a tuna, a remnant from a catch that previous day that had been bitten in half by a smaller shark. The fishermen cast their improvised rig into the water and braced themselves as the great white shark closed in. Once the shark took the bait, it began to pull away with immense force. No human strength alone could have reeled in a creature of this size. Anticipating this challenge, the fishermen had tethered their fishing line to multiple palangrays, which are wooden flotation devices designed to create drag and eventually exhaust a large fish. This method was similar to the technique depicted in the film Jaws, where barrels were used to slow down and wear out a great white shark. The struggle lasted for more than an hour, with the fishermen gradually gaining control over the shark. Just as they prepared to strike with a harpoon, the shark suddenly charged at their skiff, ramming into it with such a force that the impact sent splinters flying towards them. It then bit down on the boat's keel, shaking the wooden structure violently before retreating. The fishermen barely had time to recover before the shark circled back, preparing to attack again. This time, they saw their opportunity and successfully landed the harpoon. Even after being struck, the shark continued to fight, thrashing in the water and then biting into the boat's rudder. After a long battle, the great white finally succumbed and the fishermen brought it back to shore. This shark was later named El Monstruo de Cozumel and was reported to measure over 21 feet in length and weigh approximately 7,100 pounds. However, its size is debatable. Some analysts who have studied photographs from the time argue that the shark may have been closer to 16 feet and question whether its weight was officially recorded. Regardless of these discrepancies, the shark is still recognized as one of the largest great white sharks ever reported. The Cozumel shark is one of several instances where extraordinarily large great white sharks have been documented. Another example comes from the 1870s, when a shark measuring 36 feet long was reported caught near Port Fairy, Australia. In the 1930s, a great white allegedly reaching 37.6 feet in length was also captured off New Brunswick, Canada. The most extreme case was reported off the Azores, where a Portuguese trawler was said to have caught a great white measuring 41.2 feet in length. While these measurements are often debated because of lack of verifiable records, they lead to discussions about the true maximum size of the species. The widely accepted maximum length for great whites is usually 20 feet, but sightings of significantly larger individuals still persist. There's a well-documented case from 2009 which involved an 11-foot great white that was nearly bitten in half off Stradbroke Island, Australia, suggesting the presence of an even larger predator in the area. In another incident from January 2010, a massive great white was reportedly observed attacking and consuming a human off a South African beach. These reports are pretty difficult to verify, but they suggest that enormous great whites still roam the oceans. Submarine shark. During the 1980s, reports began to circulate about an enormous great white shark that was said to inhabit the waters of False Bay, South Africa. This shark, which came to be known as the submarine, was believed to measure approximately 7 meters in length, which makes it one of the largest great white sharks ever reported. 7 meters also translates to 23 feet. Because the shark was never captured or weighed, the accuracy of these size estimates remain uncertain. One particular claim suggested that the story had been fabricated as part of a journalist's prank, leading many to question whether the shark had ever existed at all. Despite these doubts, multiple eyewitness accounts supported the notion that an unusually large great white had indeed been seen in the area. The shark was also sometimes referred to as spotty because of 3 distinctive white markings that were located in front of its dorsal fin. Little is known about the history of the submarine other than that the sightings of the massive shark were documented in False Bay throughout the 1980s. The shark was frequently targeted by fishermen who were drawn to its remarkable size. Among those who attempted to catch the shark were shark expert Craig Anthony Ferreira and his father. Their first encounter with the animal occurred when Ferreira's father successfully hooked it using redfish as bait. However, the shark ultimately escaped after a prolonged struggle, during which it exerted enough force to straighten the hook, rendering it useless. A second encounter between the submarine and the Ferreiras played out in a similar manner, though this time the situation became even more dangerous. The shark, which was hooked, became entangled in the fishing line which was attached to their boat. As it attempted to free itself, the thrashing shark caused significant damage to the vessel's hull. Another fishing boat arrived in an attempt to assist, but even with additional support, the men were unable to control the situation. With the risk of their boat being destroyed and the real possibility of being killed by the struggling animal, Ferreira's father made the decision to cut the line. After this encounter, no further attempts were made to hook the submarine. Despite these failed efforts to capture the shark, Craig Ferreira and his father continued to observe it on 2 additional occasions. One of the most notable sightings involved the shark breaching multiple times in quick succession, which is an impressive and unusual display of power for a shark of such massive size. After this final reporting, the submarine disappeared from the waters of False Bay and was never really seen again. Moreover, its fate is basically unknown. While great white sharks are believed to have lifespans extending beyond 70 years, it's also uncertain whether this particular shark survived long after its last sighting. Craig Ferreira last documented his encounters with the submarine in his book Great White Sharks on Their Best Behavior. The story of the submarine has since been adapted into various forms of media in the realm of television. The shark was prominently featured in multiple Shark Week specials. However, it was the program Shark of Darkness, Wrath of the Submarine that took the story to a more fictionalized level. Presented as a docu-fiction drama, this production exaggerated many aspects of the submarine and made it look significantly larger than any verified great white. In this adaptation, the submarine was depicted as measuring between 35 and 38 feet length, which is much larger than it actually was documented to be. Also, several biological inaccuracies were introduced in these dramatized versions of the story. The shark was falsely depicted as a male, despite reports consistently identifying the submarine as a female. Another exaggerated trait included the claim that the shark possessed the ability to remain motionless while breathing through a process known as buccal pumping, something that great white sharks are not physiologically capable of as they require constant movement to pass over their gills. The fictionalized version of the submarine was also portrayed as actively hunting humans, exhibiting levels of intelligence and predatory behavior far beyond what is natural for these species. In reality, the submarine was neither as large or extraordinary as these docufiction narratives suggest it was, and much of what was presented in these programs didn't align with known great white shark behavior. Green shark. A strange report of an unusual shark came from Northumberland, England, in the mid-18th century. On September 16, 1757, a large fish described as a green shark was captured in the river Tweed near Berwick Bridge. It measured approximately 6 feet in length, and the shark was ensnared in a fishing net, leading to some attention because of its unexpected presence in the river. At the time, sharks were not commonly associated with freshwater or estuarine environments in this region, making the sighting and capture of such a specimen pretty notable. An individual named John Sykes documented the event in detail, providing an account of the shark's behavior as it was brought closer to the shore. According to his description, as the creature neared land, it thrashed with such a force that it sent water into the air at an astonishing height. The struggle was intense as the fishermen attempted to subdue it. Once the shark had been sufficiently weakened and maneuvered into shallow water, it exhibited a striking behavior, thrashing its tail with enough power to create a sizable depression in the sand. Sykes described its hole as being large enough to accommodate a coach, emphasizing the animal's strength even in a weakened state. There was further intrigue which surrounded the shark after it was processed. During the dissection, a knife was discovered inside its stomach. The presence of this foreign object raised a couple of questions, as it suggested the shark had either swallowed it at some point in its life, or had encountered it in a previous struggle, possibly either with fishermen or sailors. Following its capture, there was speculation regarding how the shark had arrived in the river. Some observers proposed that the animal had originated from the waters of the East Indies, suggesting that it may have tracked the movements of the East India fleet across vast distances. According to this theory, the shark followed the fleet's ships as they made their way toward English waters, and upon arrival, instinctively pursued salmon upriver, leading to its eventual entrapment in the River Tweed. The presence of a shark so far inland was pretty unusual, leading some to compare it to a species known to tolerate freshwater environments. Bull sharks, for example, are well documented for their ability to travel far into river systems, with individuals having been recorded thousands of miles upstream in locations such as the Amazon River and the Mississippi River. However, bull sharks are not known to inhabit the waters surrounding the British Isles, making it unlikely that the captured green shark was a member of this species. Another explanation involves the blue shark, which is a species commonly found in the waters surrounding the United Kingdom. While blue sharks are typically pelagic and prefer open ocean environments, there is a historical precedent for their ability to enter river systems. A documented case from Japan provides a potential explanation. In either 1976 or 1977, a blue shark was observed traveling 1.5 kilometers up a river in Shizuoka Prefecture. This suggests that under certain conditions, blue sharks may venture into freshwater or brackish environments, making it plausible that the green shark of the River Tweed was a similar case. Tier 2. Mika dozame. In January of 1882, an unusual shark-like creature was reportedly captured off the coast of Kinkasan Island, which is now part of Ishinomaki City in Miyagi Prefecture, Japan. The individual responsible for catching the animal was a man named Genzamon Suzuki. According to accounts from the time, the creature bore a general resemblance to an ordinary shark in terms of body shape and structure, but there is one feature that set it apart, which was a distinctive pattern covering its head and back, which was said to resemble the petals of a chrysanthemum flower. Due to this characteristic, Suzuki gave the animal the name Mika dozame, which translates to Emperor Shark. Following its capture, the shark was presented to the Miyagi prefectural government. The event attracted attention, and the news of the peculiar shark-like creature spread past the local region. On April 4, 1883, more than a year after the initial capture, the Nichi Shinubun newspaper published a report detailing the discovery. Shortly after, on April 11, the Tokyo Nichi Shinbun also covered the story, ensuring that the event was documented for a wider audience. Alongside the reports, at least one of these newspapers included a sketch of the creature, providing a visual representation of what Suzuki and others had witnessed. This illustration became a key reference in later discussions surrounding Mika Dozami's possible identity. While the original specimen itself was not preserved, the newspaper's sketch had led to speculation regarding what the shark might have actually been. One of the most common explanations is that the captured creature may not have been a shark at all, but rather a sturgeon. When comparing the features depicted in the drawing to known fish species, many have noted that the patterns and body shape bear a strong resemblance to those of a sturgeon, which is a fish known for its armored, scale-like plates and elongated body. At the time Mika Dozami's capture, sturgeons were still present in Japanese waters, though they have since been declared extinct in the region. Historical records confirm that their known range overlapped with the region with the location where Suzuki reportedly caught the creature. If Mika Dozami was indeed a sturgeon, its unusual appearance may have resulted from natural variation within the species or a misinterpretation due to the excitement surrounding the discovery of an unfamiliar looking fish. Ciganlija shark. In July 2021, reports began to surface about an unusual aquatic creature spotted swimming near the shores of Ciganlija, an island-turned peninsula located in the Sava River in Belgrade, Serbia. At first, the sighting caused concern among some visitors to the area, as the size of the shape of the creature led to some speculation that it could be something dangerous lurking in the waters. Due to its unusual appearance and the lack of immediate identification, some began referring to it as the monster of Ciganlija, while others called it the beast of Ciganlija, or even the Ciganlija shark. As more people observed the creature, fear gave way to curiosity. It quickly became apparent that whatever was in the water wasn't behaving aggressively. Instead of exhibiting threatening behavior, the animal seemed pretty calm, even allowing some individuals to approach and touch it. The lack of hostility, combined with its apparent tolerance for human interaction, led to a shift in public perception. Instead of being regarded as a frightening unknown predator, the creature was embraced as a temporary fascination for those who frequented the river. One of the most distinct features which was noted by the observers was that the creature appeared to have a wound on its head. The nature of the injury was unclear, and there were no explanations as to how it may have been sustained. It is possible that the wound was the result of a previous encounter with fishing equipment, a collision with a submerged object, or natural causes. However, given that the animal continued to swim and interact with people, it did not appear to be in immediate distress. As sightings continued, efforts were made to properly identify the creature. The mystery was soon resolved when it was determined that the so-called monster was not an unknown or dangerous species, but rather a catfish. Catfish are commonly found in the rivers of Serbia, and some species can grow to large sizes, which may have contributed to the initial uncertainty regarding the animal's identity. Certain species, like the Wells catfish, are known to reach lengths and have been documented in European rivers, including the Sava. Once identified, the creature's presence became less of a concern, and the event was regarded more as an unusual but harmless encounter. While some initial descriptions had likened the creature to a shark because of its size and the way it moved through the water, the confirmation that it was a catfish put an end to the speculation about a large unknown predator. Ryogyo. In 1873, an unusual fish was reportedly caught in the waters of Ibaraki Prefecture, Japan. The creature, which measured approximately 2.4 meters in length, was distinct enough in appearance that it was given the name Ryogyo, a term that translates to dragonfish in Japanese. Unlike ordinary fish, Ryogyo was described as having an intricate series of patterns and adorning different parts of its body, each resembling traditional Japanese motifs. The most notable of these markings was a pattern on the creature's head that the observers likened to the leaves of the palomina tree. In addition, its back displayed a design resembling a hollyhock leaf, while the sides of its body bore patterns that were said to resemble butterflies. These markings were considered particularly auspicious in Japanese tradition, as such symbols were often associated with prosperity, protection, and good fortune. Because of this, the fish's capture quickly became a topic of fascination and attracted the attention of local officials. There were several high-ranking figures from the prefectural government who came to view the unusual specimen, believing it would bring them good luck. Given the excitement surrounding its capture, efforts were made to document the creature. A sketch was created which provided a detailed representation of Ryugyu's distinctive appearance. This drawing has since played a crucial role in later discussions about the true nature of the fish, as it has allowed modern researchers to compare its features with known species. Based on the details depicted in the sketch, it has been suggested that the so-called dragonfish was in fact a sturgeon. Sturgeons are long-bodied, prehistoric-looking fishes that possess bony scutes along their backs and sides, which could explain the unique patterns described by eyewitnesses. During the 19th century, sturgeons were still present in Japanese waters, but they have since become extinct in the region. Their size, elongated shape, and armored appearance could have made an especially large specimen seem otherworldly to those unfamiliar with the species. Umoka. In 1997, a Japanese traveler known online as Moka visited Puri, a city on the Bay of Bengal coast in India, where he stayed for some time. During his trip, he developed a routine of walking to a fishing village on the outskirts of the city each morning to observe the fishermen's daily catch. He had become familiar with the kinds of fish typically brought in, but one morning, something unusual caught his attention. Among the sharks and other fish, he noticed a creature that didn't resemble anything he had seen before. The animal was large, longer than Moka himself, who was about 6 feet tall. Its body was brown and covered in thick, hard scales that looked similar to those of a reptile or the outer surface of a pineapple, complete with spines. The creature had 2 pairs of large fins and resembled limbs similar to those of a coelacanth, a large deep-sea fish with ancient origins. Its head looked somewhat like a lizard's, but unlike the rest of its body, the upper part of the head was smooth and lacked scales. The mouth was lined with rows of fine, needle-like teeth, giving it an almost prehistoric appearance. Curious about what he had seen, Moka later shared his experience on an online cryptid forum in Japan, describing the fish in detail. The story gained some interest, and another forum user combined Moka's name with the Japanese word yu, which means fish, to create the name Umoka for the mysterious animal. As discussions spread, different theories emerged about what Umoka could have been. The most common explanation was that it was a bramble shark, which is a species known for its rough, spiny skin and large size. This theory made sense because bramble sharks are found in the Bay of Bengal, making it possible that one could have been caught by a local fisherman. However, some people pointed out that Umoka had features that didn't match a bramble shark, such as limb-like fins and an unusual number of gill slits, which weren't part of the known anatomy of that species. Skepticism also came from analyzing Moka's artistic accuracy. Some supporters argued that he was known for drawing detailed and realistic sketches of marine life, meaning his description of Moka was likely reliable. However, others noted that he had previously made mistakes in his drawings, including incorrectly placing the legs and eyes on a lobster sketch. Because of this, some people believed his depiction of Umoka might not have been entirely accurate. A few enthusiasts suggested even more extreme ideas, claiming Umoka could be a surviving Eusthenopetron, which is an ancient lobe-finned fish that lived around 385 million years ago, or Xenacanthus, which is a primitive freshwater shark from the Paleozoic era. However, these theories were widely dismissed as there is no scientific evidence that either of these prehistoric creatures could have survived into modern times. Tier 3. Kitakami Cano Frilled Shark. In December 2007, an individual known by the online alias Lilith shared an unusual experience on UMAFan, which is a well-known Japanese blog dedicated to cryptid reports. In the comment section, Lilith recounted an encounter that had taken place years earlier near their home along the Kitakami Canal in Miyagi Prefecture. The sighting involved an unfamiliar aquatic creature that resembled a frilled shark but had distinct characteristics that set it apart from any recognized species. According to Lilith, the first encounter occurred when they stumbled upon the carcass of the animal in the canal. The body measured approximately 2 meters in length and was deep red in color. Its eyes were an unusual shade of blue, and its tail had a shape similar to that of a frilled shark, a species known to inhabit deep ocean waters rather than freshwater environments. This was not an isolated sighting, as Lilith claimed to have observed similar creatures in the canal on multiple occasions after the initial discovery. Given its unusual physical traits, they speculated that the animal might have been a type of multi-finned aquatic serpent rather than a conventional species of fish or shark. Although the report was pretty intriguing, alternative explanations were put forward to account for the sightings. One possibility was that the animal in question was an ornamental fish that had been illegally released into the canal. Some exotic fish species are known for their vibrant colors and unique body structures, which might explain the red pigmentation and blue eyes described in the sighting. However, the specific identity of the creature remains uncertain, as there is no clear evidence such as photographs or additional witness accounts that ever surfaced. Drinnan system. During the 1970s, Dale A. Drinnan developed a system for categorizing aquatic cryptids, particularly those associated with sea serpent reports and unidentified marine creatures. This classification method, known as the Drinnan system, aimed to organize cryptids based on their possible zoological origins. It shares some similarities with the Coleman-Hughes system, which was created by cryptozoologist Loren Coleman and researcher Patrick Hugh, as well as aspects of the older Heuvelmans system, which was formulated by Bernard Heuvelmans. The Drinnan system divides unknown aquatic creatures into several broad categories, each representing a different potential biological classification. These include unknown species of sharks, unidentified skates and rays, and abnormally large sturgeons. It also accounts for giant eels, unidentified fish, and even cryptids that resemble amphibians, such as mystery salamanders. In addition, the system includes categories of unidentified crocodilians, marine saurians, and large lizard-like creatures such as mystery monsters. Other classifications within the system focus on cryptids resembling known animals, such as water horse-like creatures, unidentified species of turtles, mystery seals, and sea lions, and unidentified sirens, which are relatives of manatees and dugongs. There are also categories for reports of giant beavers, amphibious pachyderms, which are potentially linked to prehistoric relatives of elephants, and reports of exceptionally large cephalopods such as giant octopuses and jellyfish. Now, beyond vertebrates, the Drinnan system also classifies cryptids that may belong to other invertebrate groups, including unidentified large invertebrates, reports of enormous snakes, referred to as great snakes, and one of the more unusual categories, which is the Great Sea Centipede, which appears to be based on rare accounts of long, multi-legged marine creatures. By organizing cryptid reports into distinct zoological categories like the Drinnan system provides, the Drinnan system provides a structured way for us to analyze accounts of unidentified marine life like sharks. Lord of the Deep. In Polynesian waters, there are tales that went around for generations about a massive elusive shark known as the Lord of the Deep. This cryptid is primarily known from ancient accounts, but sightings have been reportedly continuing into more recent times. One of the most notable modern encounters occurred in 1918 when a colossal white shark allegedly ran into a wharf in Australia, leaving those who witnessed it in awe because of its sheer size and power. Descriptions of the Lord of the Deep suggest that it is an extraordinarily large great white shark, far exceeding the known maximum size for the species. According to legend, these sharks were said to reach lengths of 100 feet, though more recent claims stretch that estimate even further, with some reports suggesting individuals as large as 150 feet. If these accounts hold any truth, such a creature would dwarf even the largest known sharks from the past or present. While the 1918 Australian report described the Lord of the Deep as being completely white, other accounts provide different color variations. Many sightings have characterized it as either green or yellow, often with white spots along its body. These variations in description could be the result of differences in lighting, water conditions, or even individual characteristics among supposed members of the species. Speculation about the true nature of the Lord of the Deep often ties it to the idea that Megalodon sharks may still exist. Megalodon is a prehistoric species that dominated the oceans millions of years ago, and it was the largest known predatory shark and capable of reaching at least 50 to 60 feet in length. Some believe that the Lord of the Deep represents a surviving population of Megalodon or an unknown massive offshoot of the great white shark lineage. However though, there's no physical evidence that was found to support this idea, and the notion of Megalodon's survival is pretty speculative. Carter Scherer's Pond Monster. In April 2018, a YouTuber known as Carter Scherer introduced what he called the pond monster in a video. The video, titled Monster in a Pond Caught on Camera, was uploaded on April 19, 2018 and presented the idea that an unknown large creature was living in a pond. In the opening of the video, Scherer addressed his audience while holding the camera, explaining that something unusual had been lurking in the water. He dismissed the possibility of it being a common pond animal such as a fish, turtle, or snake, and instead described it as something much larger. He thought that it could be a shark, a catfish, or another sizable aquatic creature, but admitted that he had no definite idea of what it actually was. Scherer also mentioned that the pond was old, suggesting that whatever lived inside had been there for a while. As the series of videos progressed, Scherer made several attempts to uncover the identity of the so-called pond monster. In one of his later vlogs, he attempted to fish for the creature and claimed to have briefly hooked it, only for it to break free because of its strength. He also referenced a video by his brother, Steven Scherer, in which unexplained waves were seen moving across the surface of the pond. Carter interpreted this as possible evidence of the creature swimming just beneath the surface. Now, to further investigate, he got two people to help capture the creature and remove it from the pond. Despite the buildup surrounding the pond monster, it was ultimately revealed to be a hoax designed for entertainment and just to get views on YouTube. Like many staged cryptid videos, the story was made to engage audiences and create intrigue, but there is no real evidence of an unknown creature that was ever there. Tier 4. Florida Hammerhead Shark. For many years, stories have circulated along Florida's Gulf Coast about an enormous hammerhead shark known as the Florida hammerhead shark. Descriptions of this massive predator vary, but many claim it is longer than most fishing boats, with a head as long as a truck. Some say it has the strength to tow vehicles off the shoreline and is large enough to swallow other sharks whole. It is often described as being covered in scars, which are marks from encounters with fishermen wielding machetes, harpoons, and boat propellers. Among locals, it is widely considered the most dominant and fearsome shark in the waters, stretching from Everglades City to Tampa Bay. While accounts of giant hammerheads have existed in the region for over a century, the legend of the Florida hammerhead shark gained momentum during the Second World War. At that time, German U-boats were actively patrolling the waters off Florida, attacking American vessels. In 1942 alone, 56 ships were targeted, with 40 sinking, including the Baja California, a military transport freighter that went down 55 miles off the coast of Marco Island. With tensions high, merchant ships and naval patrols frequently reported seeing unidentified shapes moving just beneath the surface near major ports. Some of these sightings were attributed to extraordinarily large hammerhead sharks. Following the war, Florida's fishing industry grew rapidly because of an increase in reports of massive hammerheads. By the 1960s, one particular shark stood out among the rest. Fishermen told stories of a huge hammerhead shark with a deep notch in its dorsal fin, reportedly inflicted by a mullet fisherman near Usepa Island. The story goes that the fisherman struck the shark with a machete after it tore into a net full of fish and began bumping his 15-foot boat. The shark allegedly swam away with the large knife still lodged in its fin. Another tale described a hammerhead seen frequently near Boca Grande Pass with a harpoon spear protruding from its back. Some even claimed that the shark bore a distinctive scar on its forehead, though accounts differed on whether it was from a boat propeller or something more intentional. The legend took on a new life in 1968 when a group of students compiled the various shark stories into a school project. Their project was published in a school newspaper, then picked up by a larger publication, eventually spreading the tale across Florida. By the 1970s, the Florida hammerhead shark had become a widely discussed topic among fishermen and coastal residents, with people sharing their own encounters and speculating about the size and age of the creature. While some elements of the legend seem pretty exaggerated, giant hammerheads are a well-documented reality. The giant hammerhead is the largest of its kind, growing over 20 feet and often weighing more than 1,000 pounds. These sharks follow migrating schools of tarpon, making Boca Grande Pass a prime hunting ground. The area is famous for producing record-breaking hammerheads, including a 13-foot and 1,360-pound specimen caught by angler Bucky Dennis in 2008. Given that verified hammerheads of 20 feet exist, it isn't entirely outside the realm of possibility that even larger individuals could be lurking in the region. Despite many claims, no one has ever definitively captured the Florida hammerhead shark or provided conclusive proof of its size. Fishermen continue to report encounters with hammerheads larger than their boats, but such claims remain anecdotal. Some marine biologists believe that the legend may not refer to a single shark, but rather a succession of exceptionally large individuals that have occupied the same waters over generations. This behavior, known as sight fidelity, is well documented in sharks, with the largest and most dominant individuals returning to the same hunting grounds years after year. By the 1980s, the Florida hammerhead shark had become a phenomenon in pop culture. It was featured in newspaper articles, television programs, and even an episode of World of Sports Atfield in 1981. Hawaiian shark. In Hawaiian waters, stories have went around about an elusive and powerful cryptid that lurks beneath the waters. It's known to fishermen as an unseen force rather than a physical creature, and this entity has been described in various ways, sometimes as a massive shark and sometimes as an unknown predator of the deep. Whether or not they believe in it, every fisherman eventually pays the price for encountering it. Time, effort, and prized catches are often stolen away, reinforcing the story of a being that takes what it wants from those who venture into its habitat. The origins of this cryptid are from ancient Hawaiian lore, where sharks were seen as more than just sea creatures. Some myths spoke of enormous sharks spawning humans, while others told of unknown marine entities that could change form, appearing as men to lure victims into the water and never return. Certain accounts describe a predator so vast and cunning that it could outmatch even the largest sharks that are known to science. Fishermen told of encounters with monstrous beings that moved without being seen and waiting just for the right moment to strike. In older times, people believed they could distinguish different sharks and identify them as reincarnations of specific ancestors. But not all creatures in the water were friendly. Some were seen as dangerous and unwanted presences, predators with unnatural intelligence and a malevolent will. When villagers wanted to rid their waters of these creatures, they used a peculiar method of capture, employing rattles made from coconut half shells strung onto a curved stick. The sound was said to lure in these predators before they could be killed, though work on the cryptid of the deep is unknown. Modern fishermen still speak of something in the water, though they no longer attempt to explain it in the ways of the past. It is not a god or a spirit, but something else, something just out of reach of understanding. It appears at the worst possible moment, just as a marlin or massive tuna begins to tire. Just when victory seems certain, the water churns, the line snaps, and the prize disappears. To those who have witnessed it, it is no ordinary shark, but something far larger, faster, and more deliberate. No matter how skilled the fishermen are, this creature always gets its share of lure. Lost shark. The lost shark, also called the false small-tailed shark, is a species that was once found in the western Pacific and the southern part of the South China Sea. Though it was scientifically identified, no confirmed sightings or specimens have been recorded in over 80 years, leading many to believe it may already be extinct. With so little information available, it remains one of the most mysterious and possibly vanished sharks to ever be documented. Scientists only have records of 3 lost shark specimens, all which were collected many decades ago from waters near Borneo, Thailand, and Vietnam. When first discovered, they were incorrectly classified as small-tail sharks because of their similar appearance. However, further study revealed key differences, including a lower vertebral count and a distinct positioning of the second dorsal and anal fins. These features led researchers to classify them as a completely separate species. Since those initial specimens, no additional lost sharks have been recorded, raising serious concerns that the species may no longer exist. Like the small-tail shark, it likely had a low reproductive rate, which would have made it more vulnerable to population decline. This issue is the fact that the lost shark lived in shallow coastal waters, which are areas heavily impacted by fishing. With overfishing depleting many shark populations, the absence of new lost shark sightings suggests it may have been wiped out before researchers even had a chance to study it. Despite this though, some experts remain hopeful. In 2004, there was another rare species known as the Borneo shark, which was unexpectedly rediscovered after being thought lost for over a century. This gives conservationists a reason to believe the lost shark might still be hiding in unexplored waters. Ganges shark. Sharks are mostly known as top predators in the ocean, but there's few people that realize some species also live in fresh water. Among the 6 recognized species of river sharks, the Ganges shark is unique to India. It inhabits the Hooghly River in West Bengal and has been recorded in the Ganges, Brahmaputra, and Mahanadi rivers, spanning Bihar, Assam, and Odisha. Unlike other river sharks, which sometimes move between freshwater and saltwater, the Ganges shark has only been confirmed in rivers and possibly estuaries, with no documented presence in the open ocean. Due to its rarity and ongoing population decline, it is classified as critically endangered on the IUCN Red List and is considered one of the most at-risk shark species in the world. Part of the Requiem shark family, the Ganges shark has a stocky, grayish-brown body with a broad, rounded snout. One of its distinguishing features is its small upward-facing eyes, which are positioned dorsally rather than on the sides of the head. This eye placement suggests that the shark may stay near the riverbed, scanning the water above for prey. While its exact diet is unclear, the structure of its sharp, slender teeth indicate that it primarily feeds on fish. Adults of this species grow around 178 centimeters, which is around 5 feet 10 inches, in length and give birth to live young, similar to other Requiem sharks. It's usually mistaken for the bull shark, which is a species that can tolerate both freshwater and saltwater and is known for its occasional aggression toward humans. The population of the Ganges shark has steadily declined due to overfishing, habitat destruction, and increased human activity near its river environments. It is frequently caught for its meat, oil, and highly valued fins and jaws, which are sold in the international market, usually. Also, pollution, dam construction, and the expanding use of river systems for agriculture and industry have led to reduced habitat for them. In recognition of these threats, the Ganges shark is legally protected under Schedule 1, Part 2A of India's Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, putting it among the country's most strictly protected species. Greenland shark in Caribbean. There was a 25-foot black shark that was caught in the Caribbean, a place where that species isn't exactly where it's usually found. The Greenland shark is known for living in Arctic waters and was identified near Belize's coral reefs, making it the first confirmed sighting of this species in the Western Caribbean. This discovery led to questions about where these sharks might be found and whether they exist in deep, cold waters beyond their known range. A PhD researcher from Florida International University, working with local fishermen to tag tiger sharks, made the discovery. After a long night of fishing, the team checked their last lines at dawn. Instead of a tiger shark, they pulled up a slow-moving, heavy-bodied shark with small, pale blue eyes and a broad, blunt snout. The researcher initially thought it might be a 6-gill shark, a species common in deep waters near coral reefs, but the fishermen who had spent years working in these waters had never seen anything like it before. The researchers sent photos of the shark to a marine biologist specializing in shark conservation, who quickly pointed out that it looked more like a Greenland shark than a 6-gill. After consulting with experts who study Greenland sharks, it was confirmed that the shark belonged to the sleeper shark family. Based on its size and physical traits, it was likely either a Greenland shark or a hybrid with the Pacific sleeper shark. The Greenland shark is one of the least understood species of large sharks. It's known for its slow movement and long lifespan, and some individuals have been estimated to be over 400 years old, making it the longest living vertebrate we know. Because they're rarely seen though, there's really little known about them and how far they travel. Some scientists think they may exist in deep waters around the world, especially in places where cold temperatures are stable. The discovery of the one in Belize supports the idea that Greenland sharks might be living undetected in tropical deep sea environments. The sighting happened near Glover's Reef Atoll, a protected marine reserve that's known for its rich biodiversity. The atoll sits on a limestone platform with steep underwater slopes that drop from 1,600 to 9,500 feet. These depths could provide the cold and low-energy environment that Greenland sharks need to survive. The area has been a research site for almost 20 years now, where scientists have tracked shark populations and worked with local officials to protect sharks from being overfished. The fishermen who caught the shark were surprised by its appearance since they had never seen anything like it before. Their deep-water fishing line, which was set to target large predatory sharks, had instead pulled up a slow, heavy shark unlike anything they have seen before. Researchers have now prepared satellite tracking tags in case another Greenland shark is found. If there is another one that's caught, it's hoped that the scientists will be able to track its movement and learn more about how these sharks are able to survive in tropical waters. Missouri shark. In 1937 and 1995, there were two bull sharks, a species that's typically found in the Gulf of Mexico, were discovered far upstream in the Mississippi River and reaching up to St. Louis, Missouri. A recent study in marine and fishery sciences confirmed these incidents and analyzed both of the records and fossil evidence to understand whether bull sharks were regularly moving through the Mississippi or if these cases were very rare exceptions. The 1937 sighting got attention after two fishermen near Alton, Illinois, just 24 miles from St. Louis, caught a 5-foot, 84-pound bull shark. This raised a few questions about how far bull sharks could travel inland. Now, nearly 60 years later, in 1995, there was another bull shark caught near Rush Island, Missouri, adding to the idea that this wasn't an isolated event. A paleontologist by the name Ryan Schell at the Cincinnati Museum Center and Nicholas Gardner, who's a librarian at WVU Potomac State College, examined many reports of bull sharks in the Mississippi River. While they verified the 1937 and 1995 incidents, they found that most other sightings lacked proper documentation. Bull sharks are one of the few species that are capable of surviving in both salt and fresh water. Unlike great white sharks that require only salt water to maintain their biological functions, bull sharks have adaptations that allow them to regulate salt levels in their bodies and make it possible for them to enter rivers and lakes. They have been observed moving into fresh water on 4 continents: North America, Australia, Africa, and Asia. There are fossil records that show that bull sharks have lived in the Mississippi River, though mainly in its lower basin. There is no fossil evidence of bull sharks reaching further upstream though, suggesting that these long-distance migrations isn't a long-established behavior for them. The researchers proposed 3 potential explanations for why bull sharks may have been found so far inland. First is that the bull sharks may have only started traveling this far upstream about 1 million years ago, making it a recent adaptation in their evolutionary history. However, this one is considered pretty unlikely. Secondly, bull sharks are developing traits similar to freshwater sharks. If this is true, they could be moving through the Mississippi River system undetected, and is a phenomenon known as cryptic movement and means that their presence goes unnoticed because they don't leave behind fossil evidence or have regular sightings. Lastly, this explanation is that the 1937 and 1995 cases were isolated events, meaning that while the bull sharks are capable of reaching these areas, it was just really rare that this happened. Ghost shark in New Zealand. There's a newly identified species of ghost shark, which is a barely observed deep-sea fish and was documented in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of New Zealand. Unlike most fish, they don't have scales and instead have cartilaginous skeletons, which is similar to sharks. Their deep-water habitat makes them hard to study, and scientists know very little about their population or threats to their survival. The species was discovered in the Chatham Rise, which is an underwater plateau located east of New Zealand by researchers from their National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research. At first, this was believed to be a member of a species found in different parts of the world. However, further research showed that it had genetic differences that set it apart. It was later named Periota avia, with the name chosen as a tribute to the scientist's grandmother. Ghost sharks are typically found at depths reaching 2,600 meters, where sunlight isn't able to penetrate. One of the most distinctive features of this newly described species is its elongated snout, which makes up for almost half of its total body length. This feature, along with its deep-sea habitat, makes it hard to classify. This species was initially grouped with a known type of chimera, but was later recognized as unique and found only in Australian and New Zealand waters. Chimeras are among the most elusive shark-like species and belong to a lineage that diverged from modern sharks almost 400 million years ago. Unlike true sharks, which have rows of sharp teeth, chimeras have grinding tooth plates that allow them to crush hard-shelled prey. They rely on electroreception to detect movement in the darkness of the deep sea, which is a feature that helps them survive in an environment where visibility is limited. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, since it really helps out the channel. Take care now.